Have you ever been the one nobody believed in? The youngest, the smallest, the one left watching the sheep while everyone else got opportunities? David knew that feeling, but on the day that would change his life forever, his own father didn't even think to call him when a prophet came looking for the next king. What happened next proved that God sees what everyone else misses, and it's a truth that could change your life too. The morning sun cast long shadows across the hillside near Bethlehem as young David tended his father's sheep. He was the youngest of 8 sons, often overlooked and dismissed as too small, too young to matter. While his older brothers served in King Saul's army or helped manage the family's affairs, David spent his days among the flocks, playing his lyre and practicing with his sling. Yet, on this ordinary morning, everything would change. The prophet Samuel arrived in Bethlehem with a secret mission from God. King Saul, Israel's first king, had disobeyed the Lord, and God had rejected him. Now Samuel carried a horn of oil to anoint a new king, one chosen not by human standards, but by God's own heart. Jesse, David's father, gathered his sons for the sacrifice Samuel had called. One by one, the impressive young men stood before the prophet. Eliab, the eldest, stood tall and strong, looking every inch a king. Samuel thought surely this must be God's chosen, but the Lord spoke to his heart. Do not look at his appearance or his height, for I have rejected him. 6 more sons passed before Samuel, each seemingly qualified, each rejected by God. Finally, Samuel asked Jesse, "Are these all the sons you have?" "There remains yet the youngest," Jesse replied almost apologetically, "but he is keeping the sheep." "Send for him," Samuel commanded. "We will not sit down until he arrives." When David entered, ruddy-faced and bright-eyed from his work in the fields, the Lord spoke clearly to Samuel. "Rise and anoint him. This is the one." Samuel poured the oil over David's head, and from that moment, the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon the young shepherd. But David's path to the throne would be long and treacherous. He returned to his sheep, anointed, but not yet recognized. His first public moment came when the Philistine giant Goliath challenged Israel's army. While trained warriors cowered, David, bringing food to his brothers at the battle line, heard the giant's taunts against the living God. Faith burned in his heart. "Let no one lose heart," David told King Saul. "Your servant will go and fight this Philistine." Saul tried to dissuade him, but David spoke of killing lions and bears that threatened his flock. The same God who delivered him then would deliver him now. Refusing Saul's armor, David chose 5 smooth stones from a stream and approached Goliath with his sling and staff. The giant mocked him, "Am I a dog, that you come at me with sticks?" David's response rang across the valley, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." One stone, precisely aimed by faith and skill, honed in the wilderness, struck Goliath's forehead. The giant fell, and Israel's army surged forward in victory. Overnight, David became a national hero. This fame, however, sowed seeds of tragedy. Jealousy consumed the king. The anointed successor now faced the wrath of the current king. Saul's spear flew at David twice during his lyre playing. The king, who should have been mentor, became murderer. David fled, becoming a fugitive in the very kingdom he was destined to rule. He hid in caves, gathered outcasts and the discontented around him, and moved constantly to escape Saul's pursuit. Twice, David had clear opportunities to kill Saul, once cutting off a corner of the king's robe in a cave, once taking his spear and water jug as he slept. Both times, David refused to harm the Lord's anointed. Years passed in exile. David's band grew into a small army. He protected Israelite towns from raiders and learned the arts of war and leadership not in a palace, but in hardship. The end came tragically for Saul. Wounded in battle against the Philistines on Mount Gilboa, with his sons already dead around him, Saul fell on his own sword. When David heard the news, he did not rejoice. Instead, he tore his clothes and mourned. David's response to Saul's death revealed his heart. He honored his enemy, refused to gloat over his rival's downfall, and wept genuinely for Jonathan, the friend who had risked everything to protect him. This was the heart God had seen, one that could lead with both strength and compassion. The tribe of Judah anointed David king at Hebron. He was 30 years old, and 17 years had passed since Samuel's oil first touched his head. But the kingdom remained divided. Abner, Saul's commander, made Saul's surviving son Ishbosheth king over the northern tribes. Civil war followed, but David's house grew stronger while Saul's house grew weaker. After Abner's assassination and Ishbosheth's murder, both acts David condemned, the elders of all Israel finally came to Hebron. They anointed David king over all Israel. David's first act as united king showed his political and spiritual wisdom. He captured Jerusalem, the stronghold between north and south, making it his capital. A city belonging to no tribe, therefore belonging to all. He brought the Ark of the Covenant there, dancing before it with such joy that he cared nothing for his dignity. The warrior king was first a worshiper. From that anointing in his father's house to the throne of united Israel, David's journey had taught him everything a king needed to know. Shepherding had taught him to protect. The wilderness had taught him dependence on God. Exile had taught him mercy. Warfare had taught him strategy. And through it all, waiting on God's timing had taught him that true kingship flows not from personal ambition, but from divine calling. The boy anointed in secret had become the king crowned in public, and Israel would remember his reign as their golden age, not because David was perfect, but because he was a man after God's own heart.